Right. Well, hopefully you can hear me now. It is blowing an absolute hoolie here on the edge of the East Lancashire moors. The winds are gusting at around about 50 miles an hour, and I've already lost one hat while I was setting up here. That's how outrageous it is. But I have to say, on this morning of Friday the 15th of March, of course, I think we have a problem with the sound on one of these cameras. Can you hear me now? Is that okay? Okay. The wind is too strong. Go to your car is the advice. Well, listen, the aroma here is far more pleasant, even though I'm standing in a pile of it, than at Westminster right now. And we can't hear you. Okay, we're gonna go to the open mic. It's going to be really windy on the Facebook camera, I think. But if you can't hear on Facebook, then go to my YouTube channel where everyone's telling me the sound is fine. Well, as I'm saying, the aroma here in East Lancashire is far more palatable than the aroma around Westminster right now. And of course, you know, what people are seeing is the machination of the deep state which wants to destroy the UK. And unfortunately, and I hate to be right, but everything that I predicted would occur in my AB7 presentation, which I gave 6 weeks before the referendum, is playing out. And I don't actually profess to have any special or unique insight. I simply read the scripts. The desire is to neuter the UK as any kind of power. I mean, obviously the UK is not a military power in any way, shape or form, but to destroy the economic power of the UK and to fully integrate it into the EU. And, you know, what we've seen at Westminster is, you know, the degree to which our political parasites have rejected their responsibility to the people of this country and are literally whoring themselves to the EU and to the global corporatists who are desperate to see not just the UK, of course, but all of the European countries fundamentally destroyed, both in terms of economy and culture, and to create this morass of the EU state. Well, you know, the only saving grace is that the call for a second referendum was resoundingly rejected, although Jeremy Corbyn had instructed Labour MPs to abstain, and 5 of his front bench decided that they would respect the will of the people and vote against the call for a second referendum. And of course, it's this call that has effectively destroyed the Labour Party. The Labour Party as a political force is effectively now defunct. So ostensibly, to all intents and purposes, the UK is now a one-party state. And although, of course, there is an attempt to bring about a new party, a middle ground party, made up of renegades from Labour and the Tory party, and of course, the manoeuvring is going on in the background to bring Tony Blair back into British politics. And of course, this individual has no capacity whatsoever for self-reflection. He seemingly fails to comprehend that he is the most detested, the most hated politician to have ever graced the halls of Westminster. He cannot walk out in public without private security. Basically because he, as everybody knows, was responsible not only for bringing about illegal wars, but for putting the motion in place to bring about the demise of the country. And of course it was on his watch that Britain fell headfirst into the global economic collapse. So although the vote was rejected for a second referendum resoundingly, 334 to 85, of course all the rest was abstentions, but the MPs voted on Wednesday evening to take a no deal off the table. And this just goes to show the childish incompetence that prevails at Westminster, because anyone with any experience of negotiation knows that you never take anything off the table. You leave it all on the table. So the MPs have effectively hamstrung future negotiations. But then they went a stage further and voted to delay Brexit by 413 to 202. This is a massive betrayal of the British people. And I hope that on March the 29th, there is a massive presence at Westminster. And in the meantime, we need people all around the country to put the pressure on their MPs to remind them that this vote was not legally binding, and there is still the opportunity to pull the plug on March the 29th and tell the EU to go swivel for their 39 billion. Basically, the EU have shown their total disdain for Britain, and of course Britain's politicians are also playing their part in this. But the reason that this is happening, the reason that the British politicians feel they could do this, is because the British public doesn't engage with them. Whoa. And they literally work on the basis that they can do what the hell they like. They have created a situation where they are drawing their salary, their expenses, and building the context for a post-parliamentary future where they get sinecure roles on the boards of the corporatocracies that they have helped to protect over their time in Parliament. I mean, frankly, the political scenario in the UK is one that would bring anyone to tears. But we got to step up to the plate here, and we have to engage. And whilst I hear all the comments and observations about people saying, we shouldn't participate in the system, well, if you want to go live in a bubble, if you want to go live in a vacuum and not participate in anything that goes on within the country, then of course that is your prerogative. But what you are doing by not participating, you are effectively granting the Tories free rein, because they know very, very well that anyone who basically elects not to participate in the system would never, ever vote for the Tories. So, we have to engage. Now, the drama and trauma of the circus of Brexit is looking like it might just drag on for a few weeks beyond March 29th. But how long depends upon the degree of apathy amongst the population of the UK. And if the people are apathetic about this, then obviously that doesn't bode well for what's rolling out, because the 5G agenda is gaining pace at a phenomenal rate of knots. But fortunately, communities are starting to take an interest. And last night there was a meeting in Glastonbury to establish a 5G action group, and I gather that Mark Steele is speaking in Bradford upon Avon tonight, although I have absolutely no information on that event. I can't find anything about it, but I am reliably informed that he will be speaking in Bradford upon Avon, so if you're in that neck of the woods, maybe check that out. And then tomorrow night, Mark Steele will be speaking at the Seven Stars Hotel in Totnes. And I'm pleased to say that the level of interest from all around the country regarding 5G is rising exponentially. And let me put it very, very simply. 5G technology is an existential threat to humanity. It's quite possibly the greatest threat to humanity since the deluge some 11,500 years ago. Obviously, we've had the nuclear threat of the last century, but nonetheless, the nuclear threat is not necessarily existential. Could be, but quite possibly, that it wouldn't actually quite come to that. But 5G is the silent war. This is a military-grade microwave technology which is attributed to be responsible for the terrible PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, the depression and the suicides of ex-service personnel because of their exposure to this invisible assault on their physical and mental well-being. And now this technology is being rolled out right across the developed world initially, with the intention that it's firmly in place by the mid-2020s. Now, we see a lot of the PR around 16 cities in the UK bragging that they are at the forefront of the introduction of 5G technology. And these are the locations where we are going to see the negative impacts of this technology rising rapidly, although of course the deep state will do everything it possibly can to suppress awareness of these negative impacts until it's potentially too late. So, look at what's occurring in the US, look at what's occurring, right across Europe, but then focus what's occurring in your town, in your street, because these 5G phone masts, and there was one that I was looking at, a picture somebody sent me the other day, and I did my own research into that particular product, and it stated categorically that this LED street light and its 5G ready control system should not be placed within 25 feet of a residential property, and yet they are literally being mounted on the walls of residences right outside people's bedrooms. In the US, Senator Blumenthal a little over a month ago managed to extract from the industry themselves that there is not a single academic, scientific or industry study which proves that 5G or even suggests that 5G technology is safe. Now, every single council, whether that's local council, district council or county council, has a constitution, and that constitution is presented to every councillor when they take their oath, and it's given to every officer when they take up their paid position. And within those constitutions, it spells out who in the council is responsible for the health, the safety and the well-being of residents. And it lays out the responsibility of councillors to ensure that everything the council does takes account of the health, the safety and the well-being of residents. So my advice is, if you can't find the constitution of your local council online, then go down to the council offices and ask where you can obtain a copy of their constitution, and then go through that constitution, identify the specifics of who's responsible, and then send a freedom of information request via the website whatdotheyknow.com, where you can find, you put in the council and then drill down to who it is that you want to address your freedom of information request to, and ask them what they have done and to show the evidence of what they have done to uphold their responsibility for the health, safety and well-being of residents, and to provide the evidence that has convinced them that rolling out 5G and LED streetlight technology is safe. So if we don't, then of course it will continue to gather pace, and it will be doing so as a direct result of our apathy. So, the apathy of the wider community is a tremendous asset for the corporatocracy and the deep state. So ultimately, they work on the basis that all the information of what they are doing is freely available. And if people choose to ignore it, that is entirely their call. And they take our apathy as acquiescence that we have no problem with their agenda, and they'll just keep it rolling out. So I'm sorry for the sound quality on Facebook this morning, but hopefully the sound quality on YouTube is a lot better. So I'll put the YouTube link on Facebook and encourage people to go to YouTube. Now, finally, of course, right at this time, and it seems quite remarkable that each AV event seems to be shortly before a major political incident in this country. And so AV10 at the moment is completely sold out of residential tickets. There are a few day tickets available, and although they're not on the websites yet, if people are interested in coming along on a day basis, check out alternativeview.co.uk, and you can get your day tickets by making a phone call. But I'm pleased to announce that amongst the speakers at AV10 will be Deborah Tavares, an outstanding campaigner from the USA, Mads Polvik, of course, the banker turned politician in Denmark, who is standing in the forthcoming Danish elections, and his attempt to expose everything that I'm talking about right now. Jebro Doherty, an outstanding journalist who was fired from the lamestream media because she was getting a bit too close to the corruption within the Irish government and the Irish police. Benny Wills, coming over from the USA. Of course, Benny is familiar to all those who follow his outstanding videos on Joy Camp. And Clive de Carl, who's an alternative therapist, and he's going to be appearing at AV10, and this will be his AV debut. And then the usual suspects of Brian Gerrish, Patrick Henningsen, and Dr. Graham Downing. And of course, the reason that the likes of Patrick and Brian and Graham Downing come back to AV year after year is because these individuals are absolutely on point with their razor sharp analysis of events that are unfolding. So, whoa, it's wild up here today. So, thanks for watching. Thank you to all those people who made the effort to come to London on Tuesday to support Lynn Tyre in her extradition hearing. Of course, there's more court hearings in 10 days from now, in the week after what will be the 25th, when Lynn Tyre will be back in court in London to hear the final judgment as to whether or not she will be extradited to France for the heinous crime of producing a very effective cancer treatment. And of course, Mark Steele on Thursday the 28th will be in court in Newcastle to appeal against his conviction of harassing Gateshead councillors. And I don't think it's any real surprise that these cases will be in that week, because they're unlikely to make it anywhere near the lamestream media, because of course they'll be focused on the theatre of incompetence at Westminster. So meanwhile, you have a great weekend. Hopefully the wind dies down a bit, and hopefully it warms up a bit. My fingers are turning blue here. But you have a great weekend, and I will be back with you on Monday morning at 8:30. Thanks for joining me, and see you next week.